Well, guys, it is now time for my week free picks of the 2024 NFL season. As last week, I went 8-8. Had a big downgrade from last week. That was 1 p.m. games. Man, did they really screw me over. Alright, but anyways, here is the regular season stands and the playoff stands at the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Bills with the bye, with Raiders at Chargers, Browns at Texans, and Chiefs at Steelers. And the NFC, it's the Saints with the bye, with Cardinals at Vikings, Falcons at Seahawks, and Buccaneers at Commanders. And my Super Bowl prediction right now is the Bills over the Saints. Alright, so now, let's get to my week free picks. Starting off with big Thursday night game tonight, as it is the Patriots at the Jets. As the Jets won the last one, the Patriots haven't beaten them since 2023, and the Jets haven't won at home against them since 2015. God, remember until last year, the last game, it was always the Patriots with that streak. And of course, whoever wins will get to 2-1 and be second place in the division and have a playoff spot at the moment. And this is a big game for both of them. Patriots had a hard-fought game against the Seahawks, but couldn't get the job done. The Jets, meanwhile, had a hard-fought game against the Titans. They had to stop them on the last play to get the job done. Oh boy, this will be a very interesting game. But I think it's going to come down more to the quarterback, and Rodgers, for the first time in a long time, had a good game. So I trust the Jets more, so I'm going to pick the Jets. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots get it. Alright, then we get to the Sunday games. Starting off with the Giants at the Browns for the first time since 2016. As the Browns won the last one, the Giants haven't beaten them since 2016. And the Browns haven't won at home against them since 2008, as the Giants try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2021. The Giants actually had a competitive game against the Commanders, but of course their kicker got injured, so all the touchdowns they were getting, they were stuck with extra points, and that cost in the end, as Daniel Diapers actually played good. Meanwhile, the Browns barely beat the Jaguars, and they got lucky too in that one, as their defense showed up. But both teams are having a lot of trouble and all that, but the Browns, of course, have a defense that I can trust, so I'm going to pick the Browns for this one. Alright, then it's the Bears at the Colts for the first time since 2016. As the Colts won the last two, the Bears haven't beat them since 2012, and they haven't won in Indianapolis since 2008, as the Colts try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2021. So the Bears got spanked by the Texans, even though the score was close. Still a really good defense, but their offense is horrendous. And Caleb Williams so far has not been very good whatsoever. Meanwhile, the Colts, oh my god, they let Malik Williams not only play good, but win. Oh my god, and Anthony Richardson played horrible in that game. Complete turnaround after having such a great game last week. Oh, that was not good whatsoever. Very concerning, but I still trust them over the Bears and Caleb Williams, so I'm going to pick the Colts for this one. And then we get to a big outer conference matchup, as it's the Texans at the Vikings for the first time since 2016. As the Vikings won all the matchups, the Texans have never beaten the Vikings. As the Texans try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2012, and the Vikings try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2016. So, the Texans, of course, hard-fought game against the Bears, but they got the job done, although it wasn't as impressive as I would have thought it would have been. And the Vikings, they actually did again. They spanked the 49ers like they did the year before. And they actually are a surprise team, as Sam freaking Darnold out of nowhere is looking like up there as like one of the best QBs in the league right now. Unbelievable. So yeah, this will be a very interesting game to see. But I think I trust the Texans more in this one. But I guess I can't be surprised if the Vikings pull it off. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And then we got a big NFC matchup, as it's the Eagles at the Saints for the first time since 2018. As the Saints won the last one, the Eagles haven't beaten them since 2022. And the Saints are trying to go 3-0 for the first time since 2013. So the Eagles, they blew it against the Falcons. Just like last year, offense can't convert a third down. They let their defense completely shits the bed and lets the Falcons go downfield with no effort, and then Jalen Hurts throws a pick. Completely terrible. That was a complete shit show. They should not have choked that game, but they did. Meanwhile, the Saints, oh my god, completely obliterated Cowboys offensively and defensively. Right now, in terms of overall stats, I think the Saints are the best team in the league right now, let alone just the NFC. And we'll see if they can maintain that going into this week and see if it was just a fluke. Remember, they started off 2-0 last year, but both of those games last year were close. These are blowouts they're winning by. But I am going to pick the Saints for this one, but I don't think I would be surprised if the Eagles got it either. And then we get to a big AFC matchup, as it's the Chargers at the Steelers for the first time since 2018, as the Chargers won the last one. Steelers haven't beaten them since 2019. They haven't won at home against the Chargers since 2018. As the Chargers try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2002, and the Steelers try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2020. So the Chargers, man, they look like so far have one of the best defenses in the league after they destroyed the Panthers, although not really much to say when you beat one of the worst teams in the league. And unfortunately, I found out earlier today, I was looking up injuries, that Herbert hasn't been practiced lately. I mean, this recent day. That's not a good sign, as he's been kind of the weak link too. He needs to play a little bit better, because the rest of the team is playing pretty good. Meanwhile, the Steelers, once again, played like the Steelers. They have one of the best defense in the league, but they have one of the worst offenses in the league after they beat the Broncos, as finally scored one touchdown, but nothing else so far. As this will be an interesting game. Chargers statistically are better. Hell, even their defense is better if you look at the stats, but you can't underestimate the Steelers. They could do it, especially since you have to worry about Herbert's injury. But the one thing the Chargers do have is an actual capable offense, unlike the Steelers. So I'm going to pick the Chargers for this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers get it. And then it's the Broncos at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2016. As the Buccaneers won the last one, the Broncos haven't beaten them since 2016. And the Buccaneers haven't won at home against them since 1999. As the Broncos try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since... No, third year in a row. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers are trying to go 3-0 for the first time since 2005. So the Broncos, of course, close game, but they couldn't get it done against the Steelers. Gee, no wonder, because their offense sucks, and Bo Nix sucks. Meanwhile, Buccaneers, hard-fought defensive effort against the Lions, as they got the job done, although Baker Mayfield did look like Mayfield in that game, throwing one touchdown to one pick, but still, stat-wise, probably the second-best QB in the league behind Carr. As they're looking really good, but the Broncos suck, of course, so I'm going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. Alright, so after that, it's an outer conference matchup, as it's the Packers at the Titans for the first time since 2016. As the Titans won the last one, the Packers haven't beaten them since 2020, and they haven't won on the road since 1992, when the Titans were the Oilers. And the Titans are trying to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2009. So the Packers, hard-fought defensive victory against the Colts, as Malik Williams actually played good. And I'm not sure if Jordan Love's playing, because I was actually looking up the injuries earlier, but couldn't find anything about if Love is going to come back yet. But still, hard-fought victory against the Colts. Meanwhile, the Titans, it's weird how they lost their first two games by exact same score, 24-17. Hard-fought game against the Jets, but once again, they couldn't get the job done. It's wild, because if you look at their defense, they have like one of the best defense in the league, except where it matters the most, in points. That's funny, how they're elite in everything, but in terms of points. But yeah, definitely don't trust the Titans offense, and honestly, after that performance, maybe Willis actually good for once? So honestly, I think regardless if Malik plays or Love plays, I'm going to pick the Packers for this one. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games, starting off with the Panthers at the Raiders for the first time since 2016. As the Raiders won the last two, the Panthers haven't beaten them since 2012, and they haven't beaten the Raiders on the road since 2008 when they were in Oakland, as the Panthers try to avoid 0-3 for the second year in a row. As the Panthers, of course, got their shit kicked in by the Chargers, as they are the worst team in the league, and they benched Bryce Young as he was horrendous. We'll see, maybe Andy Dalton will provide a spark like he almost did in Week 3 to almost beat the Seahawks last year. So that'll be interesting to see. Meanwhile, the Raiders, showing that they can't be underestimated as they pull off the comeback against the Ravens, who choked, as they're trying to get to 2-1 and keep up in the competitive AFC West, but apparently. Now, the Panthers shouldn't be underestimated, because Andy Dalton actually might be capable, unlike Bryce Young, so maybe the Panthers will actually have to be taken seriously for once. But still not fully sure on that. Plus, the Panthers are horrible in every single other regard. So I'm going to pick the Raiders for this one. But watch out for the Panthers now. With Andy Dalton in, maybe they'll actually play good. You have to keep an eye out for them. Alright, so then it's another conference matchup, as it's the Dolphins at the Seahawks for the first time since 2016. As the Seahawks won the last two. The Dolphins haven't beaten them since 2012, and they haven't won in Seattle since 2001. Back when they were both in the AFC. As the Seahawks try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2020. As the Dolphins completely got obliterated by the Bills, as Tua looked horrible, and more importantly, he suffered another concussion, and he's on IR, so he's not going to be back for several weeks. So, yeah, that's going to help the Dolphins very much as they look completely dead. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, hard-fought victory against the Patriots as they managed to get the job done and yet an OT to get the win. But, yeah, the Dolphins are sputtering along. I don't see how they're going to get, so I'm going to pick the Seahawks for this one. And then a surprisingly possible good inter-conference matchup as it's the Lions at the Cardinals for the first time since 2019. As the Lions won the last one, the Cardinals haven't beaten them since 2015. And the Lions, of course, lost to the Buccaneers. They have not looked good these first 2 weeks. It's weird because offensively, they're getting yards. It's like the Titans. They're getting the yards, but they're not getting the points as they lost to the Buccaneers and Jared Goofball played horrible. The Cardinals, meanwhile, it's been the exact opposite. They almost beat the Bills, and then they just completely and utterly obliterated the Rams as Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. looked really good. And all of a sudden, just like last year, maybe the Cardinals are actually a threat this year? That'll be very interesting to see. This is actually a very interesting game now because the Cardinals have been playing so good the first 2 weeks. But I still trust the Lions more, so I'm going to pick them. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals get it. Alright, then we get to an outer conference matchup as it's the Ravens at the Cowboys for the first time since 2016. As the Ravens won the last one, the Cowboys haven't beaten them since 2016. Their only win against them, and the Ravens haven't beaten the Cowboys on the road since 2008. And they gave the Cowboys their last loss at that stadium too. So the Ravens are trying to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2015 after they completely choked it against the Raiders. They outplayed them, but they couldn't get the job done in the end. If anything, their defense is not looking good. It's their offense that's playing good. Meanwhile, the Cowboys got completely obliterated in every single regard by the Saints, offensively and defensively, as Dak Prescott played like dog shit. Nothing looking really good there, as the Cowboys have been kind of not impressing me so far this season. That victory against the Browns, that was just their defense doing a job. And going against Deshaun Watson, as Dak did not play good either. He is not playing good whatsoever. And honestly, I'm going to pick the Ravens to get this one. I have more faith in them than the Cowgirls. And then it'll be the 49ers at the Rams, as the Rams won the last one. The 49ers haven't beaten them since 2023, and the Rams haven't won at home against them since 2018, as the Rams try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2011, as the 49ers got spanked by the Vikings once again, as Turdy Purdy is not playing good this year. Just one touchdown and one pick so far. And Christian McCaffrey, of course, still out for several weeks and got spanked by the Vikings. So that's a little bit of a concerning sign for the Super Bowl runner-up, and of course, having a Madden curse already. Meanwhile, the Rams are in complete free fall. They have one of the worst defense in the league. Their offense is horrible after they got obliterated by the Cardinals. Nothing's going right for them. I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one. Alright, then we get to Sunday night. Game that shouldn't be up there, as it's the Chiefs at the Falcons for the first time since 2016. As the Chiefs won the last two, the Falcons haven't beaten them since 2012, and they haven't won at home against them since 2008, as the Chiefs try to go to 3-0 for the first time since 2020. So the Chiefs beat the Bengals, but man, they got outplayed by the Bengals completely. They got completely outplayed by the Bengals, and they should have won that, as Mahomes so far this year is even worse than last year. 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, and they're just getting bailed out. Definitely not a good start. The Chiefs honestly should be 0-2 right now, but they keep getting lucky. Meanwhile, the Falcons, after not looking good for most of the game, when it mattered the most, Kirk Cousins clutched up and pulled up that incredible comeback in the end on the final drive, which I was laughing my ass off as they were marching outfield with no effort, because that Eagles defense apparently sucks again. And the Falcons defense is actually not playing that bad either, if you think about it. There's a little bit inconsistent offensively, so maybe with the Chiefs struggling, maybe the Falcons can pull off an upset, question mark? I mean, it's possible, but I still don't fully trust them, so I'm going to pick the Chiefs for this one. But, man, if they keep winning ugly, that's not a good sign for a three-peat. And then we get to, I hate this, 2 Monday night games very close to each other. Gee, how about have one game at 7, one game at 10? That way I can watch them both, instead of having to switch between channels. Fucking stupid. Anyways, the first Monday night game is the Jaguars at the Bills for the second year in a row, as the Jaguars won the last 2. The Bills haven't beaten them since 2018. As the Jaguars are trying to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2021, and the Bills are trying to go 3-0 for the first time since 2020. So the Jaguars, of course, ugly game against the Browns and couldn't get the job done, as their season is looking really not good right now, they better start turning around. Meanwhile, the Bills obliterated the Dolphins as they are looking like one of the best teams in the AFC right now. And there's not much competition looking like at the moment, so this will be a good start for them to really run away with it, as I'm going to pick the Bills for this one. Alright, then finally, the last Monday night game is the Commanders at the Bengals for the first time since 2016. Although 2008 was the last time they were at the Bengals, since the last time was in London. The Commanders won the last one. The Bengals haven't beaten them since 2012. And the Commanders haven't beaten the Bengals in Cincinnati since 1991. As the Bengals try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2019. So the Commanders, of course, got a needed victory over the Giants as they actually lead the division right now. Not bad. And Daniels, he was just a game manager. He didn't put up any touchdowns, but still overall, he is undisputedly the best rookie quarterback right now. Not even close. But now they're going to have a tough task because they got to face the Bengals, who should have beaten the Chiefs, but got robbed in the end, as they desperately need a win now too to recover from this. And I am going to pick the Bengals for this one. Man, those are my picks for week 3. I cannot wait for Patriots at Jets tonight. So my picks are the Jets over the Patriots, the Browns over the Giants, the Colts over the Bears, the Texans over the Vikings, the Saints over the Eagles, the Chargers over the Steelers, the Buccaneers over the Broncos, the Packers over the Titans, the Raiders over the Panthers, the Seahawks over the Dolphins, the Lions over the Cardinals, the Ravens over the Cowboys, the 49ers over the Rams, Chiefs over the Falcons, Bills over the Jaguars, and Bengals over the Commanders. Alright, so see you all next week for week 4.